friend, it's Corley and welcome back to my channel. Today I am setting up for March in my 2021 bullet journal. I've picked a much larger color palette for this month than I have in past months. You can see my color selection on the piece of paper to the left of my bullet journal. The pinks and blues tie into my winter setup, and then I added some other colors like greens and yellow to start welcoming spring. As you may or may not know, I'm breaking my bullet journal into seasonal sections this year. I'll link my winter setup in the card above, as well as in the description if you want to check that out. I've mapped out 3 months per season, so winter was for January, February, and March, and then I'll put my spring section next, which will cover April, May, and June. Stay tuned for that video sometime mid to late March. Okay, back to talking about this setup. My original concept was to do a floral bouquet theme with little clovers throughout as a nod to St. Patrick's Day without being overly holiday themed. That didn't quite come across in my execution, but that's okay. I'm still really happy with this month's setup. I've been wanting to do a bicycle drawing with flowers in the basket for ages, and I decided this would be a great month to finally do it. My flower doodles are heavily inspired by Shada Campbell, who does the most amazing florals in her bujo with markers. I'm not on her level yet, but practice makes progress. I've been spending more time with art this year, and I'm trying to embrace the journey. Everyone has to start somewhere, and expecting expertise or perfection is just unrealistic. I'm still experimenting and exploring to find the things I like and find my own style. Outside of my bullet journal, I've been playing around with watercolor and having a blast with that. I don't know that it's something I'll attempt in my bullet journal, but I love playing around with my markers too. I'm just enjoying letting myself be creative in any way that I can. Oh yeah, my tires came out kind of wonky. While part of me really wishes the tires had come out more even, I guess it adds to the hand-drawn nature of the page. I strongly considered trying to clean them up somehow, but I didn't want to risk messing it up even more, so I decided to just leave them. After I was done coloring everything in with my markers, I couldn't decide if I wanted to outline everything with my black pen. I decided finally to just go for it, and I think it looks nice. I left most of the flowers as is with no outlining and just added the outlines to the clovers. Overall, I'm very pleased with how my little bicycle turned out, and I'm okay with the fact that it looks more like a spring cover page than for winter. To finish up the cover page, I lettered March at the top with a soft tip brush pen, and then moved on over to the right page for my monthly dashboard. Again, if you've seen any of my other setups, this dashboard will look familiar. It's my overview for the month with a mini calendar up at the top, followed by a vertical style calendar down the right side of the page. Underneath the calendar, I have a table to track my income and savings, and then a little box to house any notes. This setup is still working great, so I'm keeping it the same. If you have any questions about this page or any of this setup, feel free to post them in the comments. To tie this page in with my cover page, I added floral doodles by the titles like I did in my February setup. This was also when I realized I hadn't added any yellow yet and decided to add some over on the cover page as well. I tried using a variety of colors and floral designs and also added the clovers. I think it's really neat how little scribbly flowers end up looking so cute, but I think I could use some lessons in floral arrangement. I labeled the dates in the corners for the mini calendar and then chose my light blue marker to highlight the weekends on the vertical style calendar. I like how this gives me a visual separation for each week. Then I also used my light gray mild liner to highlight every other row in my income and savings table. I like this visual separation without having to draw a grid with black lines. The catchphrase for this video: if you've seen my other setups, this will look familiar. I took my thin pink washi tape to edge the right page. This adds a little marker for the start of each section in my bullet journal. I did this in blue for the start of my winter section, and then I used pink for all 3 months so far. I'll show you how that works later on in the video, but let's play around with some more washi tape first. I picked a few washi tapes from my stash to add beneath the vertical calendar. I found a really pretty vintage looking one with flowers and birds, and then I picked a light pink striped one and a yellow one to match. I ended up taking the yellow one out because I didn't really like those 3 paired together and opted to add a little clover instead. After adding some drop shadows with my light gray mild liner, let's look at how the washi tape acts as a bookmark for each section. You can see how the pages lined with washi tape stand out from the others, so it's easy to flip to the start of each month. And now that the monthly cover page and dashboard are set up, let's get into the first weekly. Remember the catchphrase? If you've seen my other setups, this will look familiar. But here's a twist. I'm making some adjustments. While I generally like to keep things the same rather than using different weekly setups each week, I'm continuously making tweaks and adjustments to make things more functional and useful for my needs. I'm keeping my hourly setup for the week with Monday through Thursday on the left page and Friday through Sunday on the right page. But instead of having Saturday and Sunday in the same sized columns as the other days, I'm cutting them in half and placing them on top of each other. I don't need as much space for time blocking my weekends, and it felt a bit like wasted space. So I condensed the 2 days, and it gives me more space over on the right for my extras like habit tracking and notes. Habit tracking is one of those adjustments I've made recently. In my beginning setups, I talked about how habit trackers don't work for me. But I'm going through a phase right now where I'm finding it helpful. So I'll add my habit tracker to my weekly spreads until I get to a point where I no longer find it useful. I typically find habit trackers the most helpful when I'm trying to start something new or get back on track with something I haven't been very consistent with. Then when I get to a place where I don't need that reminder anymore, I typically stop tracking the habit. Another slight difference for this weekly is I'm adding a bit more color to the general setup. Last month, I kept everything black and gold other than little floral doodles at the bottom of the notes box, which is pretty much what I'm doing this week, but I'm also adding a light pink drop shadow to the weekly boxes and writing the days and dates in yellow and brown. I split each daily box into 2 sections. The top has the times separated in half-hour increments from 7:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then the bottom section is for daily tasks. Later on in this video, you'll see how I fill in the hourly section of each day with my markers. And like I said, I added some little floral doodles to the bottom of the notes box. And I think I got a little bit better at arranging all of the flowers and the leaves. I think I could still use more practice, but I'm still having fun. And this is how I fill in the hourly section of each daily box. I select one color from my color palette to specify a certain category. So for this month, I have chosen the darkest pink to indicate my school class schedule. I have this light blue to indicate my work schedule. And then I'm using the lighter green to indicate other appointments that I have throughout the week. And then later on, I'll take most likely the lightest pink color, but I might choose yellow or something to indicate when I'm seeing clients for my internship. And I've mentioned it in a previous video that schedule can change a lot as clients shift their appointments. So I tend not to fill those out until Monday so that any other smaller shifts I can write in pen, but I don't have things crossed out all throughout the week. And if you have any questions about that or about any other part of my setup, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm always happy to answer and help you guys out. Okay, so now I have finished setting up the beginning of my March setup, so now it's time for the flip through. Thank you so much for watching this video and taking on this bullet journal adventure with me. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate a little thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss future video uploads. And as always, whatever combinations of buttons you choose to click, I'm truly grateful sharing this bullet journey with you. Happy planning and see you next time.